morning. Good to see you. I mentioned during the announcements that Remembrance Day is coming up, and maybe you've heard something about Remembrance Day. We're going to hear a bit more about Remembrance Day today, but I have a question for you. What is the longest that you've ever stood quietly? A whole minute, maybe? A whole 2 minutes? It's a long time to stand quietly. I bet you probably have. We're going to do that this morning, Max. We're going to stand in a moment while we hear a bagpipe. You've heard a bagpipe before, eh? Yes, an instrument created by God. Did you know that? Some people's favorite instrument is the bagpipe. And we're going to hear the bagpipes this morning while we stand, and then the bagpipes are going to stop. And it's going to be silent. And we're going to stand silently for 2 minutes. And we're going to think about how we're blessed that we live in a free country. And we're going to think about how some people have served and even given their lives for that freedom. Emily? Oh, you have to speak up so I can hear you. You've probably sat quietly for that long. All right, we're gonna take the next step of standing quietly then for that time. So we're going to listen to some names being read, and I'm going to sit here with you while we listen to it, and then we'll be standing. Are you ready?
Okay. Our tradition at Strathroy United Church is to read the names of members who have volunteered for active service with Canada's fighting forces. We remember with thanksgiving to God these members who served on our behalf. Evan Bartholomew, Albert Bates, Douglas Beamer, Arthur Brown, Gordon Brown, Richard Butler, Kenneth Calvert, Lloyd Calvert, Frank Campbell, Agatha Cavers, George Cavers, James Champion, Roy Cleve, Harold Collins, Charles Cooper, Norman Cooper, Douglas Crandon, Harvey Craven, Gordon Cuddy, Mac Cuddy, Fred Davison, Kenneth Dennis, Dorothy Doan, John Doward, Will Doward, George Downham, Gordon Downham, Grant Early, Brian Engel, Helen Ferguson, Alan Font, Harold Font, John Font, Robert Font, Gerald Gateman, Clarence Gibson, Russell Gibson, J.E. Goff, Max Grennis, Kenneth Haldane, John Hare, Arthur Harmon, Henry Harmon, John Head, Leonard Head, Donald Hiles, Edmund Holliday, Earl Humphreys, Cecil Hollingsworth, George Jelfs, Clifford Jones, Howard Keck, Russell Keck, Ross Kellestein, Herbert Colesmith, Wilbert Colesmith, Borden Cutt, Robert Lambert, John Larocque, Ted Levitt, Donald Lightfoot, Gordon MacDonald, Jack T. MacDonald, Cameron McLean, Malcolm McIntyre, Charles Mills, George Morningstar, Hugh Nicholson, Richard Nicholson, Robert Nicholson, Grant Parker, Douglas Parker, Rupert Parker, W.T. Pierce, Leonard Pearson, Winston Pearson, Alan Pedden, Leonard Penpraise, Whitford Petch, Norman Powers, Russell Ratcliffe, Donald Rutherford, Forbes Rutherford, Russell Stacy, John Sullivan, Howard Swales, Leroy Swales, Donald Swift, Jack Taylor, Floyd Thomas, Kenneth Thomas, Ronald Thomas, John Townend, Stanley Wells, George W. Wilmot, Cecil Wright, and Peter Wright.